What you need to look for is basically like things that repeat, like repetitive things, like certain strats they're running. Use as much time as you can to watch these people. Now you have like at least 10 to 15 teams that are actually doing some super smart stuff. Hi guys, so we're gonna talk about a few different ways how to watch a CSGO demo. Obviously, if you're an individual player just coming into the game, you need to identify your role a little bit. Let's say you're an AWPer and you want to become better in that role. What you do is download a demo of an AWPer that you think is similar to your play style. Let's say if you're an aggressive AWPer, then you can download maybe demos of G2, watch KennyS. If you're a bit of a defensive AWPer, then you download Astralis' games and watch a little bit of Device in their prime. And then you can learn a lot. Basically, you base your moves off that. It doesn't really suit you well if you're an aggressive AWPer and you just watch something defensive. It can kind of disturb your style a little bit. But what you do, let's say you get it right and you want to be aggressive like KennyS here, what you do is like you download the demo and you play it. Obviously, first thing you watch is like, there's a few things that you can actually watch, but a few of the important ones is his money management, of utility usage, his positioning, everything that he does pretty much in the game. So we can see here that G2 lost their pistol against Godsend. They played obviously a half buy kind of thing, and Kenny saved $1.3K. Basically, that would give him much more money going into the first gun round when he buys an AWP. We're gonna skip through this. Into the second eco round, you can see here that he has a $4K. And then in the next one he's gonna get even more, so he can buy a full AWP and full nades. We're gonna skip over that one too, and we're gonna watch the first gun round here, what happens here, and we're gonna pause it for a second, and you can see Kenny having smoke flash and an AWP plus small Kevlar. So this is a pretty good utility for the first gun round, considering that you kind of forced in the second round as well, so it should be fine. After that, once you figure out, I mean, obviously you don't need only one game, you just watch a couple of those, multiple, as many as you can, much time as you have, you use it to watch that those games. So basically you can see him here. Just what you need to look for is just positioning and utility usage. Obviously, this is also depending on your teammate, which is Nexa in this case, and the setup that you want to run. Is it a defensive setup or aggressive setup? You can see here that Nexa is playing in main, Kenny is playing a little bit defensive about the CT blue, sorry. And I guess they have some sort of a read how they want to. This is usually predetermined in the game plan when you actually talk between your players and the coach, how you want to run your CT side, and basically you do it based on that. But you can see it like also in the middle of the round, in the middle of the game, how he rotates, how he reacts to certain situations, 5v4s, does he overextend in some situations, does he play safe? Like you can see many things, but this is like the most basic stuff that you can do. So I would recommend anyone who wants to play the AWP and wants to play aggressive to watch AWPs like KennyS, and if it's less defensive, you can watch Device and from Astralis. But use as much time as you can to watch these people, because they can bring a lot into your game, and they're very experienced and they know a lot about these games. So you can learn a lot as an individual by watching a demo like this. So the other reason why we should watch a CSGO demo and how to watch it is basically, let's say you want to anti-strat, right? And you are coming into the tournament, you have your opponent. What you need to do, you have like a 1 day before the game, 2 days before the game, depending like on the schedule. You download a few games of the opponent you are facing. Usually when you know an opponent a few days ahead, or you know the map that you're gonna pick, whether it was like best in a best of 3 or it's just a best of 1, you pretty much have the general idea of the primary map that you're gonna play, and you need to prepare for that. Most of the teams do that. There are some teams that don't really like anti-stratting because it doesn't suit their kind of play style in a way, and kind of disturbs their whole like game mindset about the game and everything. But most of the teams, they usually do anti-stratting, and most of the teams that I was in, we did a lot of anti-stratting as well. So you do what you need to do is basically look for, when you download a few games, let's say you're playing Nuke and you need to download at least 3 or 4 last nukes that team that you face played in the recent month. And what you need to look for is basically like things that repeat, like repetitive things, like certain strats they're running in certain timings of the map. Like maybe they have some teams usually have a tendency to run the same strat in the first gun round. If they win a T-pistol or CT pistol, doesn't matter, they run the same strat. So maybe you can counter that. The other thing is, like, obviously by watching a demo, you can counter individual. If he's like Jax here, you can see him like shoulder picking. If he does that every single round, then maybe you can counter. There are players, surprisingly enough, there are players in high tier teams that are making like similar mistakes in almost every single. They're making the same moves that are kind of super counterable in a way. So basically, you can do that. You can look for different strats they are running, same strats they're running in different games. That's also something that a lot of teams do, because they rely on a certain strat, like in important rounds they keep running it. You can recognize that by the way they're throwing smokes, how they time their grenades as a terrorists, and it's not really hard to notice. If you look at hard enough, you're gonna find some gaps. The third thing is like what you need to, what would be the useful way to watch a demo is like if you're in an IGL, that this is something that teams do a lot. If teams get like kind of stuck in certain areas of the game, you know, in let's say a default on Nuke or Mirage or Inferno, if something doesn't work, if they keep changing it, something doesn't work, they look for solutions in watching the demos of other teams. This is a pretty common thing. It shouldn't surprise you at all. This is all the teams doing, like all teams are doing this thing. So it can be pretty useful because there are a lot of smart people and smart teams and very structured teams nowadays, especially like in this online era. People are doing very, very smart things. It wasn't like that back in 2015, 16. You had just a few teams that were like doing super, super cool stuff. Now you have like at least 10 to 15 teams that are actually doing some super smart stuff. And you can pick up some things. It doesn't have to be a purely like a copy-paste kind of situation. It can also be like you see a good opening of the round, good entry smokes, good like first 30 seconds of the default. You can combine that with something of your own and you can make it work. So if you're an IGL, if you're at like a beginner team, then you can just do something like that in a demo that you want to do. All right, guys, this was Kassad, and you are watching how to watch a CSGO demo.